So, if you were in the gaming community and you have been living under a rock, you would probably not know that Dead Rising is getting a full on, not just a remaster, but it seems like a remake where they're not just adding new graphics, but they're adding whole new functions that are actually going to make the game a whole lot better and a lot more playable. Not saying that the original Dead Rising wasn't playable. I would know because between you and me, Dead Rising has a very special place in my heart. But there were certain things about that game that just kind of tended to frustrate, where like the AI of the survivors, I would have to make a save just in case a lot of people didn't make it, and I would anticipate having to do the run 5 or 6 times and then do another save. Specific things like that. And it also just seems like you have a lot more options to play around with as you play the game. But I'm about to get into that. But I first want to start off with, from this trailer, if everything goes according to what the trailer's advertising, it feels like Capcom is actually trying their best to please their fans. Like they're actually listening to their fan base, sort of. And the only reason I say sort of is because let's get the elephant in the room out of the way. The original actor who played Frank West will not be returning to reprise his role because I'm going to be real, his voice made the game. Frank West is an icon. I know that he's gone over a ton of rewrites and just different models over the years. But the original Frank West that was featured in Dead Rising 1, Dead Rising 2, Case West, and Dead Rising 2 Off the Record, that original OG voice just cannot be replaced because regardless of how you feel about the whole of the Dead Rising universe, Frank West is the guy. So for his voice to be replaced is just a bit of a shock, but I'm willing to overlook that because of a lot of the other stuff that they are doing for this game. Now, they might be replacing some voice actors for different characters, maybe Isabella, maybe Carlito, but from what the gameplay I've seen, I'm seeing a lot of improvements in mechanics that make the game a little bit more smoother and less clunky, that I'm willing to forego the things that they're changing that might be a quote-unquote thumbs down. First, let's start off with the best improvement. The AI is getting a whole new revamp, which, oh my gosh, is that good. I can't tell you the amount of times that I have had to try and do a perfect run. Well, no one forced me to try and do a perfect run. I actually chose to go out on my own. But to get a perfect run and have your entire survivor chart completely maxed out, I had to save, cross my fingers, and anticipating starting all over again for my save whenever it came to making a big group jump, especially at the end of the second night, going into the third day, when you have to save all those people from the cults and you have a whole mess of zombies in the Paradise Plaza. Like, it was a mountain thick wall that could trip up the AI and have them running into a horde and then ask for help. Like, I did not trust any of the survivors that I was taking over, but moments like that where I could say, you know what, I actually like what they're going for right now. I think that they are listening to a lot of the frustrations that we used to have, but we tolerated because the rest of the game was still very good and very salvageable. And they've also added the mechanic of running and using firearms. Also, you can use bigger objects to kind of block a firearm, which honestly comes in handy because there are a lot of bosses in the original game that had firearms that seemed very OP, where I kind of had to rely on hanging back with a hockey stick or a sniper rifle of some sorts. Also, it seems like it's going to come in handy in overtime mode when you have to face down the special forces in the mall when you collect all those goods for Isabella. It seems like Capcom is looking at their original work of art and they're saying, okay, how can we make it better, less frustrating? Because there were times of the original game, although I love it, that were super frustrating, and it just kind of seemed like there was only one way to win those because any sort of direct approach would just be counterproductive. It also will even out, if it works as it should, the fights with the special forces in overtime mode, just because you had to stay in an exact same spot just to fire off while they could just kind of shoot from the hip, and it just became like you were underpowered against the special forces in that game. But it kind of just seems like now that might actually be a smoother sailing thing, and my palms are going to be less sweating going into the final act of the game. Also, another big thing that I learned was that you can skip forward in time now. Like, there's actually a fast forward button basically on your watch. So you don't have to sit around for hours on end and wait for the next case, because sometimes those periods could be a little too much, especially going in from day one to day two when you're waiting for case two to start off. Now, obviously, when you first pick up the game and fire off the game, you're going to be so busy with quests to level up that you're not really going to have a whole lot of complaining to do when it comes to sitting around and waiting, because if you want to level up, you're going to want to collect survivors and you're going to want to take them to the safe house. But I do see this function really coming in handy if you just want to kind of have a casual playthrough with all the cases. Like, let's say you want to show your friend just how in-depth the story is, who never chose to choose the story because they were too busy going around and having the sandbox aspect of the game stand out. You could probably show them the whole game in a matter of hours. Like, by that I mean like maybe 1 or 2 hours, because not a lot of people had the patience to sit through 6 hours worth of gameplay in a group. But although it's not a super standout function to a lot of people, I think it is, because it gives you an option. If you know your audience, if you want to play with some friends all in a gigantic room or a little room, depending on where you live, it just seems like it's all entirely in the realm of possibility where every playthrough can be done a little differently. And I don't know if this is any consolation, but they added stairs to the vent to get into the safe house, so you don't have to wait for all the AIs to take turns jumping over the ledge to get in. And that's just to name the obvious ones that have been announced, but I'm actually looking forward to see what else they throw into the game that's not really advertised. And I'm really curious to see if they deliver on all these promises, how the game runs, how it works, how it operates on my first playthrough. Hopefully it's not too buggy, but I actually do like the fact that they are releasing this game in September, which is the month that the game actually takes place. But all in all, it just kind of seems like this is a lot to be excited for, and it doesn't have too long of a wait time. It's obviously going to have a little bit more of a high-tech feel to it, so get ready for that if that's your thing. But I'm also highly skeptical to see just kind of what else got changed, because we won't know the full experience of the game until we actually play the game. I'm actually curious to see if a lot of the tracks that we used to fight the bosses to are going to be involved, like if a lot of those classic rock songs, or no, heavy metal songs, excuse me, that used to go along with like Adam the Clown or someone like that. I wonder if that is still going to be there, or they're going to actually do like their own custom track, because they usually do that when it comes to remakes and remasters, because sometimes there's licensing issues. Kind of a bit of a nitpick there, but I just am wondering if they still have all the same tracks. So I won't know until I end up playing this game, but I definitely am going to play this game. I'm definitely going to review it just to see how much it delivers. But yeah, I just wanted to make a really quick video on this, because I feel like this game is how you sort of understand your fan base. Now, obviously, you know, when you come up with a game, I don't know how much the original voice actor Frank West was asking to reprise his role, or they chose just to go with a different person just to save some money, but it does kind of seem like it is going for the most part in the step in the right direction. Obviously not a bunch of all these changes being perfect, but I think it's enough to entice the fan base into wanting to replay and revisit a story that is honestly, in my opinion, underrated. That's one of the things about this game that has always gotten under my skin, is a lot of people got so involved in running around the mall and just having a good time that they forgot to play the main cases, and they missed out on a very telling story that kind of led to some really good sequels. But I think with that fast forward option, I think it's going to take a lot of people who would normally just not take the game too seriously, but at least want to get in and be told a narrative that's very gripping and mysterious. But that's what I got to say. Are you looking forward to this remake / remaster? What do you like? What don't you like? Are you disappointed? Are you excited? Are you planning the game, etc.? Leave it in the comments, and I'll see you on the next one.